Morning, everybody. Good morning. It is a Wednesday, I think. Yeah, Wednesday morning. It's a Wednesday morning and it's gorgeous outside. We're halfway through the week. Things are going well. So I hope you are doing well. I hope everything's going well where you are. Hope as you're back to school that everything's moving and working and flowing. I know my kids are busy. They're busy. They've got schoolwork that they're doing. They've got homework that they're doing. They have Zoom classes. Today they had chapel. So a lot of things going on for them. Good morning, Emily. Hope you're doing well too. And Kennedy and everyone else who's joining us this morning. Hey, that is a great question. That's a great question. I get that question sometimes. And actually, I'm glad you asked that question. Kennedy says, I'm looking for a new kids' Bible. What one should I get? So, Kennedy, because I've heard that question a couple times, I actually ordered like a bunch of Bibles and I want to go through them and see which ones are the best for what age group. So, I don't have them yet. Actually, those Bibles should be here this week. Actually, today's Wednesday. They should be here tomorrow or Friday, and I want to go through those. But here's what I would say: look for a. I'm going to type this out. Look for an ESV translation. An ESV translation. So the ESV it's just a translation of the Bible. And why is it a translation? Well, the Bible wasn't written in English. The Bible was written in a language called Hebrew and Greek and a little Aramaic, those three languages. So we need a translation into English. And the Bible that I use every day here is the ESV translation. So it's newer. And then the more you're able to read, the more you'll get to understand it. So look for the ESV translation, and I always like to look for a kid's Bible. So again, I ordered a couple of them, and I should have them here by tomorrow. And hopefully, maybe by Friday or Monday, I could give you some recommendations. But would you ask me that question again? And maybe I can just have them stacked up right here and show you them so you can get a good idea of what they are and how much they cost and what they look like and all of that. So thank you for asking that. We are in Second Kings today, and we're going to look at a story that first makes me sad, and then makes me happy, and then makes me sad, and then makes me happy. Sad, happy, sad, happy, sad, happy. It ends with happy, but it's kind of sad, but it does make me happy. So, Second Kings chapter 5. Second Kings chapter 5. And yeah, I'm glad you asked me that because I forgot I had ordered those. And there was a delay in shipping, so it's taken them a number of weeks to get here. So thank you for asking me that, and we'll look at those because that's a very important question. So Second Kings chapter 5, look at the first word in that chapter. It says Naaman. Naaman was the commander of the army of the king of Syria. So Syria, they were above the land of Israel. So there was Judah, Israel, Syria, and they would always attack the people of Israel. They were the enemies of Israel. And you're going to see, or actually over the next few chapters, they attack them again and again and again and again and again. And eventually they're going to wipe out the land of Israel. Israel loses because Israel never follows God. Oh, and Kennedy's saying they just read this story last night. Great. Man, I love this story. So there's a commander of the army of Syria, but he's only the first character. Look at the second character. It says this, verse number 2. Now the Syrians on one of their raids, so they would come across and attack, on one of their raids had carried off a little girl from the land of Israel, and she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. So they would come and attack, and then they would take people back as their slaves, which was terrible. We know that slavery is wrong. Slavery in other countries is wrong. Slavery in our country was terribly wrong. Slavery is always wrong. But the Syrians would come and they would attack the people of Israel, and they would take people back as slaves. And one time they took this little girl. Now, man, this is what makes me sad. My heart breaks for this little girl to be taken away, probably to be taken away from her parents. Oh, man, that would be so difficult, so tragic. But God is going to use this little girl. Okay, God always has a reason for what he does. Even when it seems like God is doing something bad, he has a reason for it. And so, even in this, God has a reason and a plan. Look at what happens. Naaman, okay, the master, he gets leprosy, a skin disease. And there's still skin diseases today, but this skin disease, it would actually like eat away at your skin. It was really gross and terrible. And so your finger, which might look like this, pretty soon someday the disease is eating it down and it looks like this. Okay, it's bad, or it could eat your nose or your ear. It was bad. And eventually it would kill a person. And there was no way to heal someone with this form of leprosy. It was awful, awful, awful. So Naaman has this leprosy, and this little girl says this, verse number 3. She said to her mistress, "Would that my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria. He would cure him of leprosy." So she's talking about Elisha. And she says, "Man, I wish Naaman could go see Elisha because Elisha could cure him." And Naaman hears about that and he tries all these things. And finally he's like, you know what? I haven't tried this. If I don't do everything I can, this disease is going to kill me. So I am going to go visit this guy, Elisha. And so he gathers up all this stuff. In fact, he gathers up a lot of money because he thinks this guy, Elisha, whoever he is, he's going to want me to pay him a lot of money if he's going to heal me. So he gathers up all this stuff and he takes it. Look at what he took. It says, verse number 5, he took 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, 10 changes of clothing. Okay. He took literally millions of dollars. Okay. I added this all up yesterday as I was studying. It worked out to my calculations to be about $3 million worth of money. $3 million. Man, that's a lot of money. But he's really hoping that Elisha can cure him. So he travels down there to the land of Israel. And look what happens. Verse number 8. No, let's skip down a little further. Verse number 9. So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him. Now, he shows up at Elisha's house, and Elisha doesn't even have the kindness to go out and talk to him. He just sends a messenger, which seems kind of rude at first. But again, there's a reason for all this. He sends a messenger, and the messenger says, verse 10, "Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be clean." So when someone got rid of leprosy, the Bible often says they were clean. So the disease, the dirty disease was gone. They were clean. So he goes, "Hey, what do I need to do to be healed?" And Elisha sends a messenger and says, "Oh boy, all you need to do is go wash in the Jordan 7 times. Now, that seems really weird. Okay, the Jordan River wasn't known for healing people. There was nothing special about it that way. It would be like if someone had some sort of disease and I said, go to the Mississippi River and dip yourself in it 7 times. The person would look at me like, what? What? If the Mississippi River healed people, don't you think everyone would be going to the Mississippi River? Don't you think people would know about it? And so he's like, well, that's kind of weird. And in fact, Naaman actually gets angry. He thinks it's so dumb that he has to wash in a dirty river 7 times. He gets angry. Verse 11. "Behold, I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call upon the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and cure the leper." Naaman says, what? He sends a messenger to me? He tells me to wash in a river? I thought he was going to come out here and say, "Oh, Lord God, please heal him," and wave his hand around and whoosh, you're healed. That's not what Elisha does. It's not what Elisha does. And Naaman goes on. He's still mad. He says, "Are not the Abana and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" Okay, so He talks about rivers back home. And Syria was a land with lots of mountains and lots of hills. And so these rivers run down from the mountains, and they're made from the snow that happens up in the mountains. And so the water is really clean and not muddy and gross like the Jordan, which just goes through the land. He goes, if it was about clean rivers, couldn't I just wash in the rivers back home? That's it. I'm leaving. So he has a chance to be healed. His servant girl, she gave him good advice. He just has to go to the Jordan, but he refuses. Man, sometimes we act the same way. We act the same way. We act the same way when we're told to do something. And God tells us that when God tells us to do something, or when our authorities tell us to do something, we get all mad and upset and we don't do it. And God goes, no, doing it is the best thing. So look at what his servants say. Man, I'm glad he listens to his servants. Listen to what they say. So he turned away and went away in a rage, verse 13. But his servants came near to him and said, my father. Okay, again, we've heard that word before. He's not really their dad. It's just a term of respect. My father, it is a great word that the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Has he actually said to you, wash and be clean? They go, look, Naaman, all you have to do is go try it. It's not a big deal. He didn't say, like, you have to travel 5,000 miles and climb the highest mountain and jump into the deepest. Just go down to the river and dip yourself in 7 times. Just try it. So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. And so Naaman thankfully listens. I'm so glad he listens. He goes down to the Jordan River and goes down in it once. Nothing. Twice. Nothing. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Nothing. No change. Not even a little bit. But on the 7th time, he comes out of the water, and I imagine he looks down at his skin. It's clean. He's clean. He's healed. He's healed of his leprosy. And man, he is so excited and he is so happy, and it's amazing. Leprosy was like a death sentence. If you got leprosy, you were going to die, and it was going to be painful and awful and bad, but God healed him. Look at what happens. And he returned to the man of God and all his company and stood before him. And so he comes back to Elisha. And he goes, behold, I know that there's no God in all the earth but in Israel. So accept now a present from your servant. So he comes back and he goes, man, I know that the only true God is the God of Israel. Why? Because none of the gods of Syria had helped him. They hadn't been able to save him, heal him, do anything for him. So, man, God uses this to work in his heart. And I kind of hope that we'll see Naaman in heaven someday. But look at what takes place. He offers all those presents. Remember the $3 million? He's like, let me give this to you, Elisha. And Elisha says, as the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, the Bible says, but he refused. He goes, look, you don't need to pay me. I didn't do anything. God did it. God did the healing. And you're like, well, couldn't he have taken that money and used it for good things? Yeah, definitely. But for some reason, God did not want him to take that money. And so he says, no, I won't take it. Naaman says, thank you. Peace out. Peace out. Naaman goes away. I told you, though, that there's a little sad part here at the end of the story. So it's like sad because of the servant girl, good because there's good news, sad because he won't obey it, good because he does obey it, good because he's healed, good, but sad again. Look at what happens. When Naaman had gone a short distance from him, verse 20, Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, see, my master has spared this Naaman, the Syrian, and not accepting from his hand what he brought. As the Lord lives, I will run after him and get something. Okay, Gehazi's like, the guy offered you $3 million and you wouldn't take it? Come on, Elisha. Just take it. Come on, just take something little. It's not sinful. You're not stealing it. And he's right. Elisha wouldn't have been doing anything wrong, except unless the Lord told him not to take it. But Gehazi is like, I'm going to go get some of that for myself. And so he runs after Naaman, and Naaman sees him, and Naaman says, is all well? And he said, all is well. My master has sent me, saying, there have just now come to me from the hill country of Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophet. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 changes of clothing. And Naaman said, be pleased to accept 2 talents. So Gehazi runs after him, and Naaman's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Gehazi goes, I'm so sorry. Elisha just sent me. 2 young, poor prophets, preachers, just showed up. Do you mind just giving them a little silver and a couple changes of clothes? It's really not a ton of money. It would be like a couple $1,000 compared to the $2,000 or the $3 million that Elisha was offered beforehand. So he gets the clothes, he gets the silver. Naaman's like, oh, absolutely. Yes, of course. I'd love to help you. So Naaman leaves, and Gehazi comes back thinking, I just made some money. I just made some money. And look what happens. Verse 26. Elisha said to him, where have you been, Gehazi? And he said, your servant went nowhere. He lies. So I didn't go anywhere. Verse 26. But he said, did not my heart go when the man turned his chariot to meet you? Was it a time to accept money and garments, olive orchards, vineyards, sheep, oxen, male servants, and female servants? Therefore, the leprosy of Naaman will cling to you and your descendants forever. And he went out from his presence, a leper like snow. Man, so sad. Oh, hey, Gehazi, where'd you go? I didn't go anywhere. And Elisha goes, man, my heart just knew it. My heart knew what was happening. I knew what was happening. And because you took that money that God did not want you to take, because you lied about it as well, you will now have the leprosy that Naaman had. The Bible says he went out white as snow. Leprosy turns your skin white as it's kind of eating away at it. And he was diseased, and that's the last we see of Gehazi in the Bible. Sad because Gehazi worked with the servant of God. Gehazi should have known better. But Gehazi didn't listen. Gehazi was selfish. Gehazi wanted money more than doing what was right. Sad story in the end. But man, I'm happy for Naaman. I'm so happy because he went home healed. And can I guess something the Bible doesn't say? I'm going to guess. So this isn't the Bible. This is just Pastor Ken's opinion. Bible is perfect. Pastor Ken is not. Bible says everything true. Pastor Ken guesses at some things. I'm guessing that when Naaman got home to that little servant girl, that things went well for her, that he took good care of her. Maybe he even sent her home because he was so grateful that she had helped him and told him how he could be healed. I think the story really ends on a good note that way. Well, hey, I missed you guys today. We're going to look at 2 other stories the rest of this week from the book of 2 Kings. Hopefully, I'll get those Bibles by tomorrow afternoon, and we can talk about them either Friday or Monday. Again, Kennedy, remind me about that. I don't want to make... I want to make sure I don't miss it. But I do miss you guys, and I hope you guys are doing well. We love you guys, care about you guys. Hope you guys have a great day in the Lord. Take care.